move here to Taos, you're probably going to have to learn how to use a chainsaw, use tools, drive your truck on terrible roads to go get your firewood. You're going to have to learn to build. It's quite a challenge. So this brings out the innate capacity of women here. And then there are the women who were already here. Long before Mabel Dodge Lujan and Beatrice Mandelman, they were these heroic women, like you say, who kept the community going when there were no men here. So I think that these things work together to bring it about. But like I say, I think it's a global phenomenon.
And mostly, I'm sure a lot of your friends are building on the Mesa. And that seems to be, the Wild West. They made that movie Off the Grid, which I've never seen actually, but there's we were talking about the men in Taos, but actually, I don't think any women can build without the support of their men friends and the tools. I mean, women can have their own tools, but men have the strength. So I think a lot of women feel they can build their own house. And a lot of women, including myself, don't build conventional houses. It's when I built my earthship, it was something that I could do, like mixing cement and laying cans. And an earthship is conducive to that part of building, I mean, if you're not afraid of hard labor, technically, it's not very hard. I did a little bit of carpentry, like door bucks and, window bucks. But as far as the carpentry goes, my men friends helped. And
well, I met my husband, and he was a rancher, and not that I knew the front end of a cow from a back, but we ranched for 50 years here. And he also was a ski instructor for 45 years up at Tusky Valley. Well, since I came to Taos, I was a ranch hand. Before that, I was a cartographer. And when I worked in Galveston, I worked for the registrar at the University of Texas Medical Branch. So I haven't done any cartography since then. So here, I did a lot of volunteer work, and when the kids were young, I started out with volunteering for the Little Theater, and then when the kids were older, I was Cub Scout mother, a 4-H leader, band boosters. All my kids were ski racers, so every weekend I was driving to some ski area, usually Colorado. So most of my week, and all the kids were in different age groups, so they didn't all go the same race.
Well, I think we're very independent thinkers. And people choose Taos, I think, for a somewhat alternative lifestyle, to be away from a lot of, the big urban issues, but to still have a lot of culture right here. But we don't. I mean, time after time, people organize and go and tell town hall or the county that they don't agree with this or that, or they want to stop this, and or Walmart, and they're generally successful. And I think we all feed on each other and support each other in that.
Having sheep and doing all of this, you wake up in the morning and you have no clue what you're going to run into. So while I have an idea of what I want to do, it's just an idea. And I think of this as the future as being an idea and a possibility, not the reality of what we make it. Because I can wake up some mornings and it's really mellow, and other mornings all hell's broken loose. I've got rams out, I've got something going on, somebody's hurt, I've got a lamb that's being born that I have to go in and do, turn it around in the mama. I mean, you never know. So you can't plan too much ahead. You just sort of take it a day at a time.
Well, I think part of it is the land. I think that when we are raised in a city, we don't have a sense of place in the same way that you do here. It's partly the land, it's the light, it's the shadows of the light out on the llano, It's the shadows of the clouds on the mountains. It's the way the sky moves and changes in a day. And I lived for the first 13 years right next to the Ranchos Church. And the Ranchos Church is like living at Stonehenge. You watch the stars come up each night in a different place over certain sections of that church. You watch the light play on it. You watch people mudding the church. You hear the bells. And you see the rhythm of life and the seasons in ways that I certainly did not in Los Angeles, where I was born and raised.
My home is in Ranchos, and I'm very much involved with the acequias and running the water and with gardening and growing food. I'm really into heirloom and organic seeds and seed saving and gardening, and I also keep bees. And the bees are very much a part of my reality at this time, and I'm really into nurturing them and their ancient sort of connection back to shamanic traditions all around the world. So the land and the water is a big one for me personally. The fruit trees, the whole agrarian lifestyle that is very much a part of this valley and has been for, millennia.
We're going through Class 4 rapids and seeing that their fear diminish, and that's really important. But a lot of times people say, oh, the male will be the better guy because he's more powerful, which is actually the complete opposite, because the river isn't there to be dominated, as many people who have built dams and try to reroute rivers can tell you, that rivers have their own, the mind of their own. So it's more like a kind of deliberate dance with the river, and something that's more about finesse and actually working with the rapid and not trying to oppose it. And that's something that I learned when I was taught by female guides how to boat. And so that's also really empowering to see people that don't believe in you at the beginning of the day. 16 miles of Class 4 rapids is a long time for an attitude change. So
It's empowering to be a woman and say, yeah, I'm going to build my own house.
Ooh, feel love, crazy for your love. And when I get that feeling, sweet love I'll be dealing. When I get that feeling, sweet love I'll be dealing.